Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Life or Biz Wisdom. Had some more technical difficulties there, but I'm here now and that's the main thing. Hope you all are having a great start to your week. So what I want to talk to you about tonight is about why we must celebrate the successes in our lives. And I'm going to talk a little bit what I mean by successes, what I mean by celebrating, and suggesting that you work out what is meaningful for you in terms of celebrating, and why it's so important in moving our businesses and our lives forward. So to begin with, I'm going to talk about successes. So look, hopefully you're quite familiar with and do often celebrate at least the major successes in your lives. As you know, we all celebrate really big things like our children's birth or birthdays, getting married, graduating from courses, having, family and friends over for different milestones and all that sort of thing. And in our businesses, it can be celebrating lots of people signing up for a program. Hello, Lux, how are you? And showing up for or buying our latest products and our services. And that's really, really important in terms of celebrating those big successes. We tend to do that relatively easily and probably more often than we do the medium or the small successes. And really, all successes really are created equal from the point of view of how it helps us, and I'm going to talk a little bit about in more detail, but how it spurs us on in both our businesses and in our personal lives. So we want to be celebrating even the small successes, and some days that can be almost like getting out of bed can be a success, or cooking a dinner that you think is half decent, or having a good conversation with your kids, that sort of thing. It's really, some days, unfortunately, are not the way that we plan them to be. We mightn't be feeling the best for whatever reason. And, we want to still work out at the end of the day what might be a success for you. And what I do is, as well as writing in my gratitude journal, I think I'm going to celebrate the fact my yang is being sloughed off, learning a new yin way on a soul level. The way of the world, of business, etc., is changing. So true, so true. And this is yin stuff. That's what the feminine energy is really, really strong at, is or natural at, I think. Not to say that it's not masculine. And I'm talking about energies here, of course, not genders. So, yes, so at the end of the day, I write in my gratitude journal, kooky and cool, exactly, about what things I'm grateful for at the end of the day. But I also write down what are my successes. Now, if you aren't doing that, I would really, really encourage you to do it. It is quite often similar because, of course, I'm grateful for my successes, but it actually has a different purpose. There's one thing about being grateful to the universe, of course, and to ourselves, and then the successes is really acknowledging what it is that we are, what we are in terms of being and what we are in terms of doing. What are we contributing to the world or to ourselves? And just writing it down can really, really help. But then actually celebrating them in some way is even going that bit further. So the celebrating part. So as I said, we're used to celebrating the major milestones in our lives, but you want to also look at what you can do to celebrate those seemingly more minor wins. So it can be, and this is so individual. This is what I invite you to do, is to actually think about the successes you've written in your, I actually call mine a gratitude and success journal. I call it both names. And not only listing what those successes are that you've had for the day, but also how are you going to celebrate it. So, as I said, we're used to celebrating the big things, but how are you going to also celebrate the smaller things? Because they do all add up. So it might be that you give yourself a, high five, like, yay, I did it. You might do yourself a happy dance, like, wow, yeah, this is really good. Well done, me. Or you could actually plan to do something to celebrate, to maybe with some family, or maybe even by yourself. That's just as much of a celebration. What are you going to do for yourself that you love to do, that nourishes you in whatever way, and that acknowledges that you've had this success, this win? And the more that you do this, the more it'll spur you on to actually want to achieve more successes. And the neuroscience behind this is actually really quite simple. You've probably heard of the hormone dopamine, or the neurotransmitter, it is in technical terms, and how we are pleasure seeking as human beings. That's just wired into us. And the reason we are, as well as serotonin, is also this dopamine hit, so to speak, that we get when we do things that actually make us feel really good. So unfortunately, on the unhealthy side of things, it can also be the dopamine hit is what can be behind addictions. So alcohol, drugs, could be excessive shopping, gambling, too much, addiction to sex, all sorts of things. So unfortunately, the dopamine then is used in perhaps an unhealthy way, in establishing unhealthy habits. But luckily, we can actually use dopamine to set us up for really healthy habits. And celebrating our wins is really, really healthy on such a number of levels. And what happens is the more that we acknowledge our wins, the more that we actually celebrate them, and the more that we do that, the more of the dopamine hit we get, the more fun it is. That's what life's supposed to be about. And, when I talk about productivity, I want to make it the most fun that I can make it, because a lot of it can be pretty dry. So if, we can add some oomph to it, and celebrating is like having a mini party. And, that's what we want. Life's not meant to be such a drag all the time. So the more that you celebrate your successes, even the small ones, the more you get the dopamine hit. And yes, in the small successes, maybe it's not as big of a high as doing something, really massive, but it's an accumulative effect. That's the great thing about it. So the more you do it, the more you get the dopamine hit, which means the more you want to do it. Disco, yeah, have a disco ball happening for sure. Dancing is a great way, thinking of discos, of celebrating, because we have all this kinetic movement, and again, the dopamine that we get with that, and it's just feels so good. So such a release too. And that's the thing, if we're thinking about a lot of our business stuff, it's not always fun. I'm saying and suggesting if we can try and make it more fun. But as I said before, it can be dry, but it can also be really stressful. So if you've had like a big launch, a lead into the release, for instance, of a big product or program, and there's been, quite a bit of activity that you've needed to do, you're probably pretty tired, to actually have some people signing up and, maybe to actually have undertaken the program and it's gone well is really reason to celebrate well and truly, and it helps to release the stress. And as I said, this dopamine hit. So we can use this to our advantage. Thanks, beautiful. Come back and watch the rest of your. Oh, you're welcome, Lux. I'm about to finish anyway, but thank you. I want to say just in finishing that you want to not only plan for these celebrations, but also to review them, to actually look back when you review your week, that I hope that you are all doing, to actually think about, okay, that was my success. How did I celebrate it? And as I said, if you can record it in your success journal, that's a really great idea. So I want to invite you to be doing that, and as much as you can, so that you can start to use dopamine on your side. You can start to really look forward to celebrating your successes. And as I said, they will build and build and build. It's really like law of attraction. What we focus on expands, and what we focus on, we attract more of. So let's celebrate, as I said, the small, just as importantly as our big successes, and see how it can actually add more to our day, to our week, to our lives generally. And think about it in your business, but also in your personal life as well. It might be that you've had a good conversation with your teenager about cleaning their room or something. You know, it's our lives really, when you think about it, are full of successes that are there waiting to be celebrated, perhaps more than than you've realised. So I encourage you to, as I said, to have your success, your gratitude and success journal happening, filling it in each day, particularly in respect of the successes with regards to what I'm talking about now. Looking at planning how you're going to celebrate that success, and scheduling it in if that's what you want to do, if that's appropriate, and then reviewing, looking back with your weekly review and perhaps even a monthly review of how you were able to celebrate those successes and how you felt afterwards, and the regularity of your celebrations, and hopefully they'll be becoming more and more regular. So as usual, any comments you have, post them below. Any questions, any experiences that you've had around celebrating. Do you do this? Do you consciously do it? You know, not everyone does, unfortunately. So I hope that you do. And if not, then I hope after watching this that you are spurred on to actually want to do it more and use this dopamine effect in a really positive way. So I will leave it there, wishing you all the best, a successful and a celebratory week ahead. Okay, thanks. Bye for now.